Hello, this is Ami from Idealist. Happy New Year. As you join us, please feel free to say hello on the comments. Just, say where you are, or feel free to say hello or ask anything. Thanks for being here. Ciao Fiammetta, who just joined. I'll wait for a couple of people more. Say hello as you join. Just get started. If you, of course, don't see this live, you can also watch this later and comment and ask anything at any time. We'll then get back to you later. So I'm going to just start, and then please, again, say hello as you joined. Hi, Matthew and Angel and Rosario Campos, who just joined us. So guys, what I wanted to do today, first of all, was just wish you a happy new year, a happy new decade. I think many of us are excited for this new year. I think that's just normal. It's a whole new decade. At the same time, I think many of us, for good reason, are concerned about what's happening around the world. I think during the holidays, we were, watching everything from the fires in Australia to all these protests happening around the world for many good reasons. And so it was good to take a few days off, a couple of weeks off over the holidays, and think about all that, and think about everything I think that we have accomplished and learned here over the last couple of years. It's exactly 2 years ago that we launched this group, and it's been wonderful to do this with you and to learn and to see what works, what doesn't work, and think a bit about what we can do going forward. So what I'd like to do today is take a few minutes to basically lay out a bit of a plan or some thoughts or some dreams about what I think we can do together, and very honestly ask you guys what you think. And so I'm going to ask you to do is imagine a scenario. We can stretch our imagination a little bit and imagine a scenario that I think we can do over the next few weeks, months, and even years. One quick parenthesis, as the year was ending, I was reading many articles that were summarizing the decade, what happened in this decade, and then other articles that were looking forward and saying, what will the world look like in 2030? And as I was reading those articles, I was thinking, those articles basically tell us, this will happen by 2030. This is what the world will look like. And I thought, well, how do we want the world to look like? What will we do to have the kind of world that we want to see in 2030, and not simply have things happen to us, but that we can actually make things happen to get the world that we want, at least to some degree. And so, basically, I want to ask you to basically sort of imagine a few things based on what I think has actually worked and what I think is possible. So my most fundamental belief here, even as I get older, is that I think that we can change the world, literally. We, meaning human beings, all of us, can create a far better world than exists now. That's what drives me every day. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't be able to do this. I wouldn't be able to come to work and do what we do. So I believe that. I think many of us believe that. Sometimes it's hard to believe that because the world sort of gets in the way. But I think that we can create a better world. I think we have all the tools, all the knowledge, all the goodwill to create a much, much better world. So the only question really is, how do we do this? So I want to run through a simple, I think, scenario relatively briefly. And again, please feel free to say hello, ask any questions along the way. We'll try to come back to them later. And so I want to try to ask you to imagine something where you are or in other places, and see if this can work. So how do we actually go and create a much better world over the next few months and years? The first thing that I think we've seen in the last 2 years in this group is that the basic vision that we have and the basic values that we have, that we can summarize as freedom and dignity for all people, that seems to resonate. And we want to build a world where all people can live free and dignified lives, and to do it in a spirit of generosity and respect. The spirit also matters. But this idea of freedom and dignity for all people, that seems to resonate. And I think that if you look around the world now and you look at all of these demonstrations and protests that have been happening over the last few months in 20, 30, 40 different countries, the one thing they have in common most of them talk about freedom and dignity for all people. Now, very often these protests are isolated, and it seems as if they're each working on their own, when in fact I think we could all be supporting each other. But we start from a very simple place, this idea that all over the world, there are people who want the same thing, more freedom and more dignity for more people, or for all people. Does that make sense? Again, please feel free to agree, disagree, say hello. So that's one thing. The other thing I think we've seen is that it's pretty clear that even though people all over the world want the same thing, we don't really know this, and we have no way of seeing each other. We're all divided. We're divided by politics, nationality, religion, all these different labels. And so it's hard for people to see how much we have in common. And I think one thing we've discovered in this group is that having a name, calling ourselves idealists, is helpful. And that we've also discovered, which has been sort of amazing, is that having this logo, this sort of round, I have some notes here, and I think all of you sort of know our logo, but basically this round circle, this yellow, blue, and green circle, having that logo mean freedom and dignity, I think leads us to think that over the next, again, few months, weeks, months, imagine using that logo, using that circle to basically say, I'm here and I'm with you. And if you stand for freedom and dignity, I'm standing for you. Imagine that logo popping up everywhere in social media, as graffiti on walls, flying on kites, on top of mountains, whatever, as a way of basically on windows, as a way of showing we are here, we're many, we're more, and we can actually do this. It's a very simple thing to do. We all, most of us right now have, a phone, a mobile phone. We have a camera. It's very easy to take a photo and to show that we're here. So step one is agreeing on some values. Step two is simply showing that we exist by using a name and a logo. Step three that I think we've also seen working is that once a month on what we call Idealist Day, on 2-2-3-3-4-4-5-5, we should get together. Getting together is a very powerful thing, and we should get together for a couple of different reasons. We should get together to inspire each other, to celebrate what we do. We should get together to literally stand for freedom and dignity everywhere. Those of us who are free, those of us who have the ability to do this safely, should, I think, at least once a month, get together and say, wherever you are in the world, and you are also fighting for this, we are with you. You are not alone. It can seem that you are isolated, but you're not alone. And if once a month, constantly, every month, we all stand for the same thing around the world, I think that could be really, really helpful to many people out there. And then as we come out and we stand and we take a photo of ourselves actually standing for the same thing once a month, we also use that opportunity to invite everyone around us to imagine a better world, connect with each other, and then act on that. So imagine, connect, and act. And so there's really only two very simple things to remember: freedom and dignity for all, and then to get there by imagining, connecting, and acting. Imagine, connect, and act. Now, how do we do that? I think beginning now, beginning the next few days and weeks, we can start collecting ideas from all over the world about things that have worked in different realms. I spoke earlier about the fires in Australia. I would love to do something about climate change. I don't really very often know what to do, and I think this is true for all of us. We need examples, we need ideas, we need menus, and this could be about climate, it can be about the environment, about education, about poverty, about development. There are hundreds, there are thousands of ideas, specific things that people have done around the world that have actually worked and that anyone can do or copy in their company, in their school, in their neighborhood. And we, I think, now have the technology, the means, the ability to collect all those ideas, list them as recipes, and then invite people to basically follow them. And then lastly, to connect around that, we can launch local groups like this one. Imagine that this group, in addition to being global, was also local in your town, in your city, and that you could meet somebody in a group like this and say, let's get together, have some coffee, and you saw that idea, let's make that idea happen. And then we can create more and more systems for making those ideas happen and for helping people, helping all of us to imagine, connect, and act. You can imagine how once a month, kids in schools could get together with their teacher and draw the kind of world they imagine. Or people in an office could get up and ask each other, what do you imagine? What do you want to do? And then hear all these recipes to do it. So this is, very briefly, I want to go back for a second in a bit more detail and see if you guys, I just want to quickly look at the comments. The basic idea, again, is just to sort of go back for a second. One is to agree on a very broad vision that can be very, very inclusive. So freedom and dignity for all people, regardless of whether you think of yourself as a progressive, a conservative, a liberal, a moderate. I don't really care. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care what else you believe. If you believe in freedom and dignity for all, then come and join us. And I think it's a message that we can put out to everyone. Come and join us wherever you are. Two, let's show ourselves. Let's basically not be, embarrassed. Let's be proud of our idealism. Let's be proud of what we believe and show ourselves by basically creating this idea that freedom and dignity can have a logo that we can just show everywhere, on our phones, on our windows, on our mountains, wherever. We are here, and we're here across borders. I see you across whatever border defines us because I see the same visual. So that's two. Three, let's get together. Let's get together where we are. We've created some wonderful tools for this, maps, etc. People know how to do this. You see people now getting together all over the world. We can get together to basically, again, like I said earlier, get together for 2 or 3 big reasons. A, feel wherever we are that we're strong, that we're many, and it's fun. It's fun to not be alone. We can get together, we can eat, we can just be together. 2 is to stand for each other. Right now, it honestly, it sort of breaks my heart sometimes to see or to read that people out there in the world are fighting for the same thing, and they're fighting basically alone. And it would be amazing if all of us knew that all of us are behind all of us. We're not together. We're isolated. We're not isolated. We're actually wanting the same thing. And so it'd be amazing to see on a map of the world how we're actually everywhere. And honestly, to see where people don't feel safe or where people are not allowed to come out, and to point out that in this country, the government doesn't allow people to do something as simple as get together and take a photo somewhere. I mean, really, your government doesn't allow that. And to actually start asking questions that can sound almost childish. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. You can have a very sort of complicated conversation about human rights and, the right of assembly and free speech and things like that. You can also simplify the whole thing and say any two people anywhere in the world should be able to meet and have a conversation about how to make their community, their neighborhood, their country better. And then you should be able to share their thoughts with other people. And no one has a right to come in and tell two people, you can't have a conversation about how to make things better and then share your thoughts. Who do you think you are coming and telling people that they can't meet, talk, and share their thoughts? And so I think we can all together stand for that, for a minimum of freedom around the world. If we want a better world, everyone out there has to be able to work for that world. And so we can all do that together. And so we can stand for that. And then wherever we get together, we're basically inviting everyone around us to join us in imagining a better world, connecting to actually do it, and then acting. And acting and connecting based on ideas that we can gather and spread. It's much easier to act if you have a menu of things you can do. Small things, big things, things you can do in 3 seconds, things you can do in a year. It doesn't matter. Things you can do alone, things you can do in others, at work, at school, in the street. We can collect all those things that have been proven. Nothing theoretical, nothing dreamy. Each of these things has worked somewhere. And when human beings see it, they can work somewhere else. Okay, so then, and then of course, this never ends, right? There's this illusion that we can have sometimes that we can, change the world or fix something. We can fix education or fix, no, this never ends. You basically see a problem, you solve that problem, you then create a new reality, and now there's a new reality, and that reality has its own problems. So basically all we can do is create a cycle where we basically get together, solve a problem, celebrate, learn, start again. And you have this concentric spiral that sort of goes up and gets better and better and better and better. And so that's what I think we can do, essentially starting now, starting very soon. But the one thing I also know is that I would love to see this. I believe this is entirely possible. But I can't do this alone. We even can't do this alone. We need more people. So what I wanted to do today was to basically ask you guys and run this by you and sort of see where you are. I think we've done enough over the last couple of years that we can imagine people around the world agreeing with these values. We've seen that. This is actually true. You guys have shown me the way of what can be done with our logo. I didn't imagine that people here would take a logo and do all these amazing things with it and make it stand for that. And I think that has been an incredible thing to see. It would be sort of audacious to propose that without having seen many of you do it first. And so that's entirely possible. It's possible to gather. We see it all over the world. All we need now is to gather for the same values everywhere. And then it's possible to collect ideas of things that have worked because they've worked. And now we just need to go and find them and publish them and spread them and create local groups that can then act on those ideas and then keep learning from each other and building better systems to do it. So it's all entirely possible, but we would need to rely on each of you to then invite your friends, tell other people, and to tell us and to tell each other what we need to basically make that happen. So that's what we like to do, beginning very essentially now, tomorrow, completely up to you. We're so connected now. More than 4 billion people now have mobile phones. We all belong to groups, to communities, to listserv. We all know how to invite people to things. And so I think there's a tremendous amount we can do. So let me be quiet for a second and seeing what you guys are saying. I think mostly right now saying hello, hola, Janet. I don't want to bore you guys by sort of saying hello to everyone. Hello, Joe in South Dakota. And people are saying hello from work. Hi, Val. I'm just trying to see if there's any question that we can basically, take right now. If no, please feel free to, ask later, message me, ask here, put up a comment. So this is guys where we are now. And if there are no questions now, although please feel free to, I'm here, I'm looking at your comments. If there's any questions or agreements, so somebody's saying in French, Claire, that she would like to get together to protect old trees. Yes, I think that part of what we have to do, I think, together is find all these different things that all of us want to do. Again, I just want to maybe close, if there won't be any questions right now, with sort of the most basic thought here, which is that all of us live in different places, in different realities, different locations. Our realities are very, very different. Our problems are very, very different. So the key is to find what can we actually agree on. We can't agree on every problem, every solution, every tactic, every strategy. That's not possible. The world is too complicated. Every country is too complicated. We can't agree on all the priorities. What we can agree, I think, are 2 or 3 big things. One, like I said, freedom and dignity for everyone, with more generosity and with respect as much as possible. That we can agree on. And we can agree on helping each other imagine, connect, and act. Regardless of the problem, regardless of the place, we can support each other in that. And then we can have, some other basic rules like no violence and no attacks on people based on their identity, etc. But fundamentally, what we can do together, I think, the majority of humanity can agree on freedom and dignity for everyone and on doing everything we can, developing all the tools that we need to help each other imagine, connect, and act. If we can do that, if each of us can do it, so you can do it for planting trees, and she can do it for better, water systems, and he can do it for a better school, it doesn't matter. We all know what our problems are, and if we can help each other with ideas and inspiration and resources, then we can actually get somewhere. And I think that's entirely possible. It's entirely possible to create a movement that is for dignity and freedom by helping each other imagine, connect, and act. I hope this is making sense. One of the things about this Facebook Live thing is that I'm talking, but I can't hear you talking back. We can do some Zoom calls soon where we can, many of us can talk. Yeah, and so I think that Maria is saying the most important thing from this organization is trust. I hope so. I think we need to trust each other. That's really important, obviously. And then we need to inspire each other. And so there's a lot we can do. I don't want to take up your time unless there's more to say right now. I think what's going to happen is that I'll get off now soon, and more people will be seeing this video as they come in, not necessarily live, and then we'll be carrying the dialogue here. And then based on what you say today, I'll possibly come back tomorrow, Friday, and start pushing this whole thing forward together. One last thing, guys, to say is that, we here in the office at Idealist, we have some ideas. All of you together, all of us together, are going to have much better ideas, so many ideas. I was thinking today about all the ways that we can use, the logo, etc. And then I just saw in the news that some people in India right now are using kites to put up in the sky with the slogans of what they want. And so suddenly it's obvious that we can use kites. There's so many ways of doing this that are beautiful and fun and joyful. As we're going to be asking you for your ideas and the best ways to reach more people, to share our values, and to imagine, to help invite everyone around us to imagine, connect, and act. And then we can create, I think, a world by 2030 that is far more similar to the world that I think we imagine, than simply being victims of what other people will do to us. I think we can actually own our own destiny in a far stronger way than we do now. We don't have to be consumers of what happens to us. We can produce what happens to us. We can be the stars of our own reality show, if you like. And the reality show is let's change the world together, and let's be the protagonists in that show. So I can get excited about this. Thank you for being here. Please, any questions, comments, we're happy to hear from any of you. We're always here, and we're back now, and the year has started, and let's go and do this. So thank you so much. Have a good day, afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are, and I'll see you here again soon. We'll organize a Zoom call soon. If you guys know, Zoom is a different kind of program where many of you can be on at the same time, and we can actually hear from many of you and not just from me. So thank you so much. Have a good afternoon, a good night, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you.